Namaste, everyone. Literally give yourself a little pat on the back. Congratulations, you've done your inner work and it's paid off. So good job. Trimester 1 began with intention. And intention is really about self-awareness. And so self-awareness is an end to be achieved. It is that goal. And in this case, it was setting the intention of really opening up, letting go, releasing, moving in a direction so that you could learn how to be your own medium. We got deliberate. Deliberate is when you use your full consciousness to allow trust and surrender so that you then can open to the results. So that's what we've been doing, is we've gotten deliberate with our intention, okay? And today is about willingness. It's about willingness, which is being ready and eager to give your consent to your soul's desire. So it is about really accepting, and today is about self-acceptance, as in to receive willingly, by choice, and favorably. So this is about free will and opening up. So all the more reason why we took some time, we went slow, we focused on breathing, you learned about your energy fields, you learned about what it really means to center, so that you have a true understanding of inner balance and harmony. So you'll be learning how to fine-tune your intuitive yes and your intuitive no, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on this. And just like in the last class, when I shared, if you haven't yet done your inner work, and you have kind of like skipped over and you maybe are just, tuning into this, I encourage you to hit stop, go back, do your inner work, because it all builds up to this and it's necessary prerequisites to be where you are today. So the intuitive yes and the intuitive no, I sometimes call spiritual yes and spiritual no. We all have this. We all have an inner barometer. We all have the ability to recognize our spiritual yes and our spiritual no. Now, some of you have done different forms of muscle testing. And some of you have watched my videos where I talk about muscle testing. And when it comes to your inner wisdom, your inner guide, you have the ability to use your inner guidance system the same way that you would muscle testing. So for muscle testing, we can use the muscles of the body, and sometimes you have somebody else who will push on your arm, or you have somebody who's doing the pendulum, or you have somebody who will actually sway forward or backwards. Some of you go to allergists, and they might use your thigh and push down on the thigh to determine what you're allergic to, whether or not you have a weak muscle, then it shows that you have an allergy. These are all different forms of muscle testing. What we're going to be doing today is a form of an intuitive testing where we're going to go through and we're going to allow your inner guidance to allow you to receive your spiritual yes and your spiritual no. Now, none of this would make any sense if you haven't done your inner work. So everything that I'm about to say, it's going to be really clear to you if you so far have kept up to all the trainings. So basically, you remember there's 3 centers of intelligence. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking in with the head intelligence. So we have this matrix that goes from here to here. And that matrix we first focused on in the intro videos, where we kind of did the out-of-body experience, we orbited, we got a feel for what it was like to leave the observation point, the tower in the head. And then we moved into heart, and we really examined and focused the emotions and release work. And that's the heart matrix, which goes from, about here to your navel. And then everything from the navel below is really what people call the hara matrix, the belly. So remember, we have 3 different centers of intelligence: the head, the heart, the hara, or the belly. And so there's a certain order in a certain way, and I'm going to teach you today how to do this. So whenever you ask yourself an intuitive question, You always want to begin by asking yes or no questions, and you want to stick to yes or no questions. So in this case, I'm going to warm you up with a couple warm-up exercises, but I want to first explain what I'm doing. So those of you who have inquiring minds, you'll understand and you'll be able to visualize it. So when you have intuition that's happening, when you're opening up to your intuitive different centers of intelligence, you first ask yourself a question. So for an example, show me or give me a solid sign that my first name is Michelle. Now you can think about that using that center of intelligence. And for you, you're going to obviously use your own first name. And so you can do this with me. You just want to think about that first name. Yes, you can visualize how it's spelled. You might remember your birth certificate. You might recall how many people actually call you by that name. You might remember learning how to spell and write your name, seeing it on various legal documents. So that rings as truth for you when you read it through your center of intellect using your head. Then you're going to want to bring that same question down into your heart. So give me a solid sign for yes, that my first name is, and you're going to want to feel into it. And you might remember words of endearment, or maybe somebody used your name a little bit, not nicely. They might have used your name angrily, or maybe your mom used your first name and your middle name to get your attention, but you're recognizing the feelings around that. So whatever's coming in for you, just sit with that for a minute in your feeling center, in your heart. And notice if it rings as true for you. Remember, you don't want to be up here thinking about doing this. You actually want to bring your energy down into it. So if you didn't do that for the heart, take a moment and do that, where you remove yourself from your head, you remove yourself from the observation point, and you actually become that which you are observing. You go into the heart, you breathe from there, and you feel into it. And now drop down even further into the belly, into the hara, into your knowing, and feel intuitively at the seat of your soul, in your hara, in your gut, what it's like to experience that yes in terms of your first name. As you sit with that, as you stabilize yourself in the truth of that, notice what that feels like in that center of I know because I know. Now this is just a little bit of a warm up. I give everybody a moment of some silence. And what I'd like for you to do is bring your attention to your breathing. Remember breath work. When you breathe, it is the one action that we can do that will immediately align and synchronize the left brain and the right brain. And so we want to just breathe mindfully and intentionally, slowly, deliberately, there's that word again, and willingly. Now, do an energy field check, everyone. Energy in front of you, behind you, left of you, right of you, above you, below you, and make any necessary adjustments to be sure that you're centered. Good. Very good. What I'd like to do is I'm going to give you a combination of different words. And as I give you a combination of different words, I want you to run it through each of the centers of intelligence. You go and do this on your own. What you can do is you can take little sheets of paper and write different ideas, different concepts, different words, and you can run it through on your own, each intelligence center in your own time. But for now, I'm going to kind of make up the words as we go along here, and you are going to kind of follow based on my lead. So keeping yourself centered. I want you to bring all of your awareness into the matrix of your head intellect, into your thinking center. And I want you to think about the word pencil. P-E-N-C-I-L, pencil. Whatever comes to mind, just think about it. And as you're thinking about it, really be aware of what it's like to think into the energy of pencil, to use this center of intelligence, your intellect, to be here in this matrix and in this field as you're bringing in the concept and the idea of pencil. Good. Now we're going to drop that down into heart. In order to do that, you just want to take a couple breaths and start to breathe from heart space, checking your energy field, making sure you're in the heart and you're centered in the heart. And now bring pencil into that heart intelligence and feel into it. Any emotions, any memories, any stories around pencil. You might even be getting kinesthetic memories, and that's all good. And now drop it down into the belly, into the tailbone, and firmly plant yourself into the knowingness of pencil. And notice the solidity of that. Notice the solidity. When you have a knowingness and it's a yes, it will be solid. It will be really, really firm. It will be stable and it will be certain. So with the idea of pencil, I'm assuming everybody knows what a pencil is. You can run it through your thought center and you can think about it. Yep, I have a good understanding of it. You can feel it. I got it. I'm feeling into it. I remember it. And then you sit down in the energy of it and you feel the stability and the certainty of it. This is warming you up for your spiritual intuitive yes. Now we're going to do a few more of these, but we're going to go faster. The most important thing is that when you're in each of the centers of intelligence, that you stay there and that you perceive from there. And then as you're perceiving, you're noticing how that feels for you. And a little tip is, if you are catching yourself being in your head and thinking about being in your heart or in your belly, you want to just catch yourself and drop back into it. And you might even say to yourself silently, clear, because that will clear your energy field of where you once were, and it will move you down into the next center of intelligence. Okay? So now the next thing, we're going to go fast. We're going to do another one. The next one is puppy. So I want you to close your eyes if they're open and think about puppy. All the different connotations of puppy. And now breathe and drop it down into heart. For me, I'm remembering the smell of puppy breath. For you, you might have your own memories. All right, let's bring it down into the belly, into the hara. Sit with it in your knowingness. I know because I know what puppy is. I know it. I'm certain of it. It's solid. Okay? Now, we're going to run this, a new one through, and this time I'm going to open it up to an energy that has some senses to it. It could bring in smells or colors or different sensory palettes in your intuitive awareness. So just notice the difference. Sometimes this will happen, especially if you're kinesthetic. So the word is lemon. So think about the word lemon, how it's spelled, what it might mean in terms of intellect, definition. And once you have a good concept of that, bring it down into the heart. And notice what comes in. If you're kinesthetic, if you're sensory, you're going to get, all of a sudden, you're going to get a smell. You're going to get a taste. You might get a visual. The juices might start flowing. You might all of a sudden get a puckering feeling in your mouth. This is all bringing in the sensories, the feelings. And then drop it down and sit with it in your knowingness, in your stability. And just notice, how do you feel about the truth of lemon? Does that feel good to you? Some people don't like lemon. And so just the idea of it is like, ugh, something feels off. Something feels heavy. Yes, I might know what lemon is. I might have a good understanding of what it is, but I don't care for it. And everything in my body is going, it's letting me know. And some of you, if you're like me, I love lemon. I love putting it in my water. I love smelling it. I love cleaning with lemon juice, oils. So if that's you, then you're going to be like, yeah, invigorating, beautiful, nice. And you'll notice what that feels like. So some of you might have gotten a no and gotten a glimpse of the no. And some of you might be getting more of the yes. So just some tips I want to read you regarding the yes is when you get an intuitive yes, it usually comes with some type of a sound. Some of you that are clairaudient, you might even get yep, yep, yes, yes, no, no. You might get that internally. You might get a vision if you're very clairvoyant and you have a good, your third eye's opening. You might just keep seeing visions of it, and it might really vibrate or be a certain picture. It might look really beautiful or it might look ugly, depending on if it's yes or no for you. You also can have a strong knowingness that gives you a sense of just, I know because I know. So we're running it through all the different centers of intelligence, and I'm going to give you a tip in a moment in terms of the order and why order is important. But this yes, your intuitive yes, and your intuitive understanding of something, yes, I understand it, yes, this is my truth, it always gives you a sense of uplifting energy, and it always will move you to the point where you're going to want to move forward, or yes, this is my truth, I don't like this. One or the other. No, when you receive it, it's going to be more flat. It will feel more heavy. It will also leave you kind of feeling empty, pulled down, even depressed in some way. So we always want to be really aware of what's happening with our intuitive centers. Now, I talked about the order here just a minute ago. The worst thing that anybody can do when they're opening their intuition and when you're asking yourself, your higher self or your spirit guides, your angels, you're asking them questions, is to run something through the head to ask the question, because we need our head to form a question. We have to have the intellect to form a question, because that's the intention. In order for us to form the question, we have to set the intention, the goal. The goal is, I want an answer to this. So we form the question. But then when we get deliberate and we start to open ourselves to that trust, when we get vulnerable, as soon as we open to that emotion, if we close it down in the heart, obviously we're not going to get to the belly, obviously. Or if we move to the belly, that place of willingness, okay, I'm willing to go there, I'm willing to ask the question, I'm willing to accept what's coming in. We get down into the belly and we receive the answer and we pop back up into the head again to question it. It's no different than saying green light, green light, green light, red light, because now we just turned off our truth. We got yes, yes, yes. And by the way, I'm taking this really, really slow. For many people, your intuition comes in, it pops in like that, really fast. So when you learn self-awareness and you're learning how to kind of slow things down and you're understanding what's happening in your body, this is all going to become second nature. It's like learning to ride a bike, or if you remember the very first time that you learned to use a mouse, it's definitely going to take some coordination and some time and some definite trust on your part, but I'm going really slow with this, and then it will just come really fast. It will come very natural to all of you. But the worst thing that you can do is to ask yourself these things and then to go back into your head and to say, was that right? Because remember what happens when you do that. You're jumping back into your observation point and you're no longer in the energy. So whether you're having a conversation with your loved one or a spirit guide, and let's just pretend for a minute that this beautiful flower, I'm having a conversation with it, because I really believe that we can talk to plants. So you talk to this plant and you say, okay, plant, do you need more water? Are you happy? You have a conversation with it. You ask the question. You drop it down into your feeling center. It's pretty darn happy. It was in fluorescent light. I saved it. Right? It's pretty darn happy. So it would be happier if it was outside. It's a little chilly for that though right now, so I'm keeping it indoors. But you want to be able to trust it. Now, as soon as I got the answer to that, if I'd go back into my head and I'd say, are you sure? Lights out, folks. You're no longer connected. The plant's now shut off. My energy and my connection to that plant is shut off. It's no different if we're connecting with a spirit guide, or we're connecting with a loved one, or we're connecting with an angel. It's the same thing. The moment you question what it is that you get, you're no longer in it. It's like waking up from a dream. The more that you try and attempt to get the answer, the more it's going to get away from you. So when you're in it, stay in it. So we're going to do a few more just to practice. Just close your eyes again. And the point of this is just to run through the different centers of intelligence. So I want you to think about the word liver, L-I-V-E-R. All the different definitions, all the different uses for that word. And now I want you to narrow it down in your head to the food, though you are actually now smelling that fried liver or tasting it or aware of it. Notice what it does in your body. And now drop into the hara and sit with it in that knowing center. And just be aware of how your body, how your intellects, all the different centers receive it. And then lock it in and trust what you're getting. Okay? Now for me, it came up with a lot of memories. My mom and dad were very young when I was born. They were 16 and 17. And so one of our main meals once a week was fried liver. And let me tell you, the smell of that was not very appealing. Like, so for each of you, it might be different. Some people love fried liver. So, all right, now we're going to do some some warm-ups that really move you into your intuitive yes or no very strongly. So take a few breaths, say clear your energy field, center yourself. Good. And now go up into your center of intelligence in the head and think about the word love, L-O-V-E. And just notice how it feels when you think about it. Now drop it down and breathe from the heart as you feel into love. This is love. And play in those energies from the heart for a moment. And now drop down into the belly. This is love. Now we're going to have something to compare it to, because it's difficult for you to understand or grasp what a spiritual intuitive yes is when you haven't experienced fully what an intuitive spiritual no is. So we're going to now move in transition. So just clear your field. We're going to transition into the word hate. So I want you to think about the word hate. You might even say silently to yourself, this is hate, H-A-T-E, and think about that. For some of you, you're going to notice an energy that kind of bounces around in your head, and it might bounce differently. Now take a moment and just compare. Just say clear. This is love. Notice the movement. Clear. This is hate. Give it a minute. Now, some of you felt the difference and some of you weren't quite there, and that's okay. I kind of skipped a step, but some of you are ready for it. So we're going to stick with hate for a minute. So just think about hate. And now drop into the feeling, the heart intelligence of hate. Notice how your body feels. Notice what's happening. And now drop it down and know it. Okay, so now clear. And now we're going to go very fast through this. I want you to think about, feel, and then know very quickly, love. Some of you are getting colors. Some of you, it feels lighter. Some of you are just simply moving or swaying. Your energy wants to move outward or expand. Just simply notice whatever it is for you. And then say clear. And now very quickly, think about, feel into, and know the word hate. For me, that hate makes me want to almost throw up. I can feel I'm such an empath that it's almost like a, it has been scientifically proven that our body is between 60 and 70% water. And so water has a certain vibration and frequency where, according to Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did a lot of experiments around water, we can use the different frequencies and tensions, and we notice what's happening to ourselves. Thoughts, emotions, knowingness, in terms of the vibration and the frequency, it's definitely, you're going to feel it. When you run the energies, the vibrations of love and hate through your different centers of intelligence. I want to make sure that you're aware of where in your body the heaviness was. This is really important. And where it was that you were noticing that you were more light. And if you had any color, where in the intelligence centers was it coming in? This is good, but I'd like for you to develop it even further and notice where specifically things were heavy, where specifically things were light. Where did that happen? Was it everywhere? Was it only in the base of you? This is really an important piece because we want to be able to fine tune this. So we want to be able to get more specific. So take a moment, center yourself, breathe, run through the different hate and love. Just simply notice whatever's coming in. Some people will actually hear clairaudiently. Me being a clairaudient, I will actually get certain messages as well. You'll get certain sounds. Some people will get like a ding, ding, or bell. Some people will get a smell. Some people will get a vibration that runs through their body, tingles. Hands might tingle, feet might tingle. So I want you all just to spend some time with this and just notice for you what's happening, because each person is like our fingerprint. Each person is a little unique. It's a little different. Think about, feel, and then know very quickly, love. And then say clear. And now very quickly think about, feel into, and know the word hate. When we drop it down into the gut, into that center of knowingness, that's when we really want to pay attention then, is what's happening. Does it feel like truth on all accounts? That's what we want to look for, is the coherency and the consistency. Some of you have done this exercise with me before, so bear with me. And some of you, this is brand new, but I do want you to get a feel for the truth versus not truth of something, and something that's kind of ridiculous, so you can feel the polar opposites and the extreme. So I want you to come up with a ridiculous name for yourself. Some name that you absolutely know is not yours. I like to use the word Rumpelstiltskin sometimes just because it's fun. But you can come up with whatever name you want. You want to be able to take your legal name and you want to use your full birth name whenever you do this, because your intellect could argue with you otherwise and say, well, that's technically your nickname. So whatever you do when you're practicing yes and no, you always want to practice with something that can be proven in a court of law through birth certificates or deeds or anything like this. So that's really, really important. So we don't want to use pen names or nicknames or anything like that. So we want to keep it simple, especially when we're starting. So using the first name is always really a fun thing to do. So let's just do the ridiculous. And so come up with a first name that's absolutely ridiculous, and then come up with your legal first name. And we're going to run these through the same channels. And you can actually, let's go with the truth first, and then go with the illusion, the lie second, and just notice. Just do it in your own count. I'll give you a minute, and then we'll transition and we'll do the ridiculous name. So start with your name now, starting in the head, and then quickly running it through all the channels. And for those of you who are asking, you can simply just say, my name is. Think about it, feel it, know it. Now for me, just so you know, because I think about it and I heard yes, I ran it through my heart, of course. I run it through my belly, indeed. So I'm receiving clairaudient, yes, yes, yes. All lights are green, boom, boom, boom. They all align, they're all coherent, okay? And for you, you might get that lightness, you might get the color, you might get the vastness, the expansion. For each of you, it's gonna be different. So just notice what it is for you. All right. Now I want you to go to the ridiculous. So whatever the name is, just go to the ridiculous. And you want to just say clear. Do an energy field check. And now run it through all the different channels, starting with the head and then moving down to the hara. My name is. Now, when you choose the ridiculous, sometimes it's so humorous that your guides might jump in, like mine just did. So I'm going with this because I want to teach you what happens. Sometimes when we go with something so ridiculous and we know it's ridiculous, such as this, your guides might come in and they might interject a little bit of humor. And so what happened clairaudiently was I ran through my head, my name is Rumpelstiltskin, and I heard, of course it is, sarcasm. And then I ran it through my heart. My name is Rumpelstiltskin. And what I felt was, okay, if that's what you want to be today. And then I ran it through my hara, my belly. My name is Rumpelstiltskin. And I heard, is this what are we role playing today? And so I knew my guides were messing with me a little bit. I knew that was them playing with me. And so for those of you who are very connected with your guides, it can happen. But what I want to, this is all really helpful because this is really good, is set the intention when you're doing this, which I didn't do. And obviously there's a reason because I would have forgot to teach you this, is set the intention with your guides, with your angels, that you stay in your own energy field and that you're not getting any interference from any of them. It's really, really important that you set that intention. Because otherwise they can jump in and kind of like, you know, tease like they did. So when you say clear, it can have a double meaning. Clear could be I'm clearing my space, I'm opening, I'm centering, and I'm also clearing out the energies of anyone else so that only me, my source higher self connection comes in, nothing else. So that's really important, and I'm really happy that happened, or I forgot to mention that. And so let's move into street. So each of us lives, we have a street address. So whatever that is, I'd like for you to, whatever the name of your street is, I currently reside on Liberty. If you guys don't live on Liberty, it might be a good thing to choose, just to run it through your system to notice. And now whatever street you do live on, run it through. Say clear, and then run it through your channels. And if your stomach growls, by the way, it's really usually a good sign. The stomach, when it growls, a lot of massage therapists, I know we have some of you on the call, when your stomach growls, it's a good indication. Energy is moving, it's usually truth, there's usually something deeper there. So all of this is a good sign. When your belly digests and it says yes and it's hungry for more, it's a good sign. Again, we're just warming you up into how your different centers of intelligence work. Obviously, I couldn't have just said to all of you, I want you to be in your head, I want you to be in your heart, I want you to be in your belly, without you really understanding what that meant. So that's why we had to take time. And then, if you have too many thoughts that are corrupt, or too many emotions that are flooding you, or too many, deep gut feelings that are getting in the way and you're questioning, then what happens is you're not open enough to receive. So that's why we've had to take this step by step by step to get you in this place so that you're ready and you're prepared for learning this. This is a huge, valuable tool. And what I will tell you before I teach you specifically your yes and no, which many of you already have it, but before we really go into it, and I really, really have you solidify it, I want to tell you two things that are really, really important. First of all, I want you to imagine, and those of you who work with me privately, you've heard me say this, I want you to imagine that you just poured concrete and that it's very impressionable right now. When you're learning your spiritual yes, if you start doing things like, oh, I wonder what happens if I, go into my belly and now I go into my head and I question, it's like making imprints in your foundation. It's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to pour all new foundation. You're going to have to come to me then in a private, and we're going to have to reset your spiritual yes. But let's not do that. Let's just set the foundation, keep it nice and smooth. And what I mean by that is trust what you're getting, keep it in the order that you're getting. All systems are a go. Yep, that's a no. Yep, that's a yes. If for some reason there's incongruency, I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling into it, I'm in my gut, and there's something quite off, ask another question. Because sometimes it's just a maybe. So you can ask another question, but clear your field and then ask another question. Now, I mention this only because some of you later on are going to wonder, well, what do I do if I run liver through my system, as an example? And part of me really likes the idea because there's some days when my body craves it, and then part of me is like, nah, I don't really like it. So you ask more questions and you get more specific, and you ask the questions in a way where you can only answer yes or no. And then you use your yes or no as a tool, which we're going to really go into here in a second. So the second thing is that between now and the next module, some of you know who you are going to be tempted to use this tool to connect with your loved ones, your angels and your guardians sooner than you're going to be ready. Please don't. You're not going to be ready for it. Sit on your hands, do whatever it takes. Practice this. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're learning numbers and you're learning flashcards and you're learning adding and subtracting. You're not ready for multiplication yet. We're giving you the basics right now. So it's really, really important that you take between now and the next module and you keep it simple and you keep to these basics and you stick to only yes or no with very simple things like pencil, puppy, lemon, choose your own words. Like I said, take sheets of paper and write things out and actually fold them up and then put them on the paper, put them on the floor, grab them, and then read them and run them through each one of your intelligence centers. And so whatever it is that you're receiving, really, really take time to recognize what's happening in each of your centers. We're going to go through and we're going to actually learn the yes and the no. And how you do the yes and the no is the same way that you just did your first name and you did your address. You do it the exact same way. You choose a question that you can ask yourself that you legally know the answer to. So for example, my first name is, my last name is, my middle name is, my birth date is, my address is, the city I live in, my zip code, my postal code, whatever it is, choose a question. And whatever that question is, run it through your centers of intelligence. And be sure that the answer is yes. So whatever that is, choose something. Notice the solidity of it. Notice what happens. Now, for some of you, your no is going to be a lot stronger. It may come with color. It may come with more feeling. So choose a question that you can ask yourself that you know the answer is no. It cannot be proved in the court of law. So my dominant hand is, I'm usually right-handed, so my dominant hand is my left hand. That is not true. So I'm going to ask myself the question, and I'm going to legally receive no. Or my middle name is Ann. That's not true. My middle name's not Ann. Or the street I live on, or my birth date, or the year I was born. Choose whatever you can, but always keep it to close-ended, simple yes or no questions, okay? So clear your field and come up with something. Now, one of the hardest things for people to do when they're connecting with the afterlife, when they're connecting with angels, guides, when they're connecting with their truth, is to come up with questions, or to come up with goals, or to come up with visions, or to come up with something that we desire. We are so good at knowing what we don't want. But when it comes to knowing what it is we want, or in this case, knowing what it is we want to come up with to practice, that's going to help us, that's going to benefit us in some way, we get blocked. So between now and the next session, I'm going to challenge all of you to get creative. Just putting you on the spot right now and asking some of you to come up with a question for the yes and to come up with a question for the no. Your mind went blank, like unplug. I don't know what to choose. So it's really, really important that you have fun with this, that it doesn't feel like work, remember that. Yet there's a balance. We can't just be all fun and games. We have to have some logical mind, some intention, some awareness, some observation point to begin. And so what I suggest that you do is that you come up with some concepts for yourself. Some things, some foods that you know that you really don't like. It's a no for me. I do not like egg salad, potato salad. That's a no for me. You know what your no's are. So come up with those things and then run them through your different centers of intelligence and notice what your yes is, notice what your no is. The more feeling behind it, the more certainty under it, the better it's going to be for you, so that you can practice it and you can exaggerate it and you can really tune into it and hone in on it and know what your truth is for either case. This is my yes, this is my no. For some of you, using your first name, it's not enough emphasis. Street, not enough emphasis. Then what I recommend is that you go with things like flowers, pets, things that are going to open up your heart and move you down into that center of knowingness. Foods, anything like that, because it's really important. We want it to stick. We want it to be like a noodle that's ready. We're going to throw it against the wall and it's going to stick. We want it to stay. My mom used to hate that when we were kids. That's how we used to check to see if the noodles were cooked. So anyway, we want it to stick. Okay, you're to practice in a obviously an intentional but playful way. So to be clear, one more time, is you want to take things like your name, your address, your favorite foods, the foods that you dislike, your favorite color, colors that you're kind of neutral on, colors that you really don't care for, songs that you like, songs that you don't like. Run it through each of your channels and notice how you're receiving, because you really want to be able to fine tune. This is my spiritual yes. This is my spiritual no. And if you get a maybe or you're indifferent on anything, such as my example of liver, you're going to want to ask another question. So for an example, sometimes I crave liver. Sometimes the smell of it, just the idea of it, I don't really care for. Okay? So as an example, then what you do is you'd rephrase the question and you would say, am I currently craving liver? Yes or no? It's an open-ended, it's closed question. It's not open-ended. It's yes or no. You run it through your centers and you notice what happens. We don't want to take this to the point where we're using this to communicate with the spirit world yet. Keep it to the earthly planes, please. Okay, really important. And have fun with this. Please, please take time and practice, okay? Enjoy.